Thank you. One of my favorite moments on Sunday morning is when we breathe together. You know, we also meditate together. I don't know if you all know that, but at 9:45, one of our ministers or practitioners leads us through a meditation where we also breathe together and meditate together. That's why this place has such a great energy when you first walk in after we've been meditating together. So Lucille did a wonderful job for us this morning. And you can always come just a little early and meditate. So as you can see here, my talk title is called Blessed Always. And it may seem like a peculiar title for a Labor Day weekend, which is all about honoring working people. But you know me, right? You know that I'm going to find a way to tie it all in. Yeah? Okay. I just love this title, though, Blessed Always. Say that with me, Blessed Always. Blessed always. It speaks of gratitude. It speaks of looking for the good in everything. However, I heard a slight turn of this phrase recently, and it put a different spin on it for me, but one that was that was just as impactful and just as meaningful to me. So instead of blessed always, how about we change it up so that it is blessed always? Hear the difference? Changes, doesn't it? Yeah. Instead of saying that I'm always blessed, which is sweet and it's wonderful and it's promising, this is saying I am blessed always, even in ways that I may not realize right now. Even when life is not showing up like I think that it should. Even when someone's hurt my feelings. Even when there's challenging financial or political times going on. Or even in the face of an illness or a physical challenge. To realize that I am blessed always means that everything that is happening in my life is ultimately there for me. Yikes. Everything that is happening in my life is ultimately there for me. It is there for my expansion. It is there for my growth. It is there for my advancement in life. It's there for my enlightenment. Because if we think of life as being kind of like school, then everything that happens is there for us to learn, yes? Can I get an amen to that? Yes, indeed. And sometimes you know as well as I do that we learn every bit as much from when things don't go the way we planned as when things do go the way we planned. In fact, sometimes even better. Yes? Yeah. For instance, Thomas Edison tried 2,000 different ways to invent the light bulb. And when somebody asked him once, well, what does it feel like to fail 2,000 times? He says, I didn't fail 2,000 times. I now know 2,000 ways how not to make a light bulb. Yeah. So it is always ultimately there for us. And I realize that that's not always great news for some people, especially if you're going through tough times right now. And I know some of you are going through tough times. I understand that some of us may not be feeling blessed always right now. However, you know, our teaching is all about changing our minds, change your thinking, change your life. So if it is possible for us to change from feeling as if life is out to get us to looking for the blessing in the challenge, when we have this complete shift in attitude, then the experience follows the shift. You understand what I'm saying? So if I'm thinking this way, I'm giving birth to this experience which perpetuates that feeling that life is out to get me. But if I have that shift going along, then that changes things, and then life begins to unfold in that direction with that change of thought. Are you with me? Does that make sense? Yeah. Emma Curtis Hopkins. How many of you have heard of Emma Curtis Hopkins? She is considered the teacher of teachers in our metaphysical movement, in our New Thought movement. And when faced with a problem, she taught her students to say, this too is good. This too is God. This too is for me, and I demand to see the blessing in it for me. Guess what? We're going to say that. But everybody's going to stand up. Stand up. Come on, play with me. I told you we're serious but not somber. Put your hands on your hip once you get the head shake going. Right? Okay, you ready? Let's say this together. Wait. Before you do it, think of a challenge. You got it? Okay, now, hands on hip, all sassy-like. Here we go. This too is good. This too is God. This too is for me, and I demand to see the blessing in it for me. Yes? Woohoo! Yeah. In other words, even in the face of the toughest challenges we may be facing, we can view them as a blessing for us always. So because it's Labor Day, I know y'all are like, I can't believe she made us do that. It was fun though, hey? So this is Labor Day weekend. I thought it might be interesting to explore this idea of being blessed always as it pertains to our work. Raise your hand if you are still working. Okay, raise your hand if you are happily retired. Oh, Les is back there going, me. Now, I would love to believe that everybody here in our spiritual community was working happily and healthfully and loving their job. I would love to believe that. Make me happy to know we have that as our spiritual community. However, I suspect that there may be one or two of us who don't like, in fact, maybe even hate their job. I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand for that. You go because you get a paycheck, but there's no love, there's no joy, there's no blessing in it. And yet, if it is true that we are blessed always, then it is true that we are blessed in our jobs. It is. Whatever our jobs are, when we make the shift to see them that way. So I want you to imagine for just a minute, how would your work life change if you saw it as a blessing? Just as it is. Not if it were different. How would your work life change if you saw it as a blessing? How would your regular life change if you saw your work as an opportunity to be of service to God? How would your life be different if you went to work with the idea that you were expressing the divine in your own unique way? That you were making a difference for the people that you work with? How would your life be different? Khalil Gibran wrote, "Work is love made visible. And if you cannot work with love, but only with distaste, it is better that you should leave your work and sit at the gate of the temple and take alms from those who work with joy." And I'm not encouraging anybody to quit your job, come sit at the outside of the center, and beg for money. Please, do not do this. But the message is very clear. Work is love made visible. And because we love God, and because we love life, then we can love everything we do, even the most mundane things. Cleaning the house, mindless tasks at work, cleaning the cat box, working in a factory, anything can be love made visible. So I'm going to give you an example. I've shared some of this story before. In my early working years, I didn't know anything about metaphysics. I didn't know anything. I wish I had known what I know now back then. Didn't know anything about law of cause and effect, and I pretty much thought that the world owed me a living. Anybody else? Yeah. I was college educated. I came from a good family. I had a few skills. Not many, but I had a few skills. And I was very entitled. or so I thought. I thought that I was far more important than I was. As a result, I would usually get jobs that I applied for because I had lots of practice, because I got fired from my jobs a lot. I did. I was really smart, or so I thought. Certainly smart. How many of you think you're smarter than your boss? How's that working for you? Yeah, not so well for me either. So I got fired a lot because of this entitlement, and I could never understand why. Why didn't they see me and treat me as being the valuable commodity that I was? Well, because I wasn't nearly as valuable as I thought I was. I went to every one of those jobs with a chip on my shoulder, always looking for the with 'em. What's in it for me? Yeah. So I wasn't there to serve. I was there to get. And it wasn't until I started to understand through the teaching, through taking a foundations class, or similar to a foundations class, I started to understand that life was indeed showing up for me in direct proportion to how I was showing up for life. So when I changed how I was showing up for life, when I changed how I was viewing life, my work life began to change. As a result, the last job that I had before becoming a minister, and it's a really long story, but which I'm not going to get into, it was a completely different experience. I was working for somebody who did value me. I was working for someone who thought the fact that I was going into ministry was a wonderful thing. The work wasn't different. I was still working as a secretary and getting her coffee, but I was different. And then, I got to share this quote with you. Work joyfully and peacefully, knowing that the right thoughts and the right efforts will inevitably bring about right results. So what happened was, I had this change. It wasn't overnight. Oh, dear God, it wasn't overnight. But I went to my boss because I had an offer to start working as a minister. At part-time, tiny little center. There were 12 people in the congregation, but it was a job as a minister. And I went to her and I said, is there any way that I could go to work for you for a day less so that I could do ministry? You know, is there any way? And this was a big company. And this is what she said to me. She said, Pat, this is your passion. We'll make it work. Yeah. We'll make it work. So in his wonderful book called Spiritual Economics, we may have some in the bookstore, Dr. Eric Butterworth talks about people who simply put in their hours, doing just enough to get by. And about those people, he wrote, they may well get away with it, but they can never get away from it. The motivations that directed them to do these things is from a level of their consciousness. Ultimately, they will have to pay the piper, for it is inexorable law. In other words, what goes around comes around. If you go to work, what can I get? What's going to happen is it's going to keep coming back to you at that level of consciousness. If you go to work, well, how can I give? How can I serve? That's going to come back to you in that way. Not because God is punishing us, because God doesn't punish us, but because the law of cause and effect is always in motion. So we are always going to receive back what we put out every time. Fail safe. Are you with me? Is this making sense? So Butterworth also talks about in this chapter that he wrote about earning your wings every day. And what he meant by that was do your utmost every day, because the energy that you're giving out into the universe is what's going to return to you in kind. That's the law of cause and effect. In fact, he said this, when you discipline yourself to earn your wings every day, one of two things will happen. Your consciousness will bring about a change in the job, making it right for you and you for it, or another job will open up for you where transfer will be effected in a way that is beneficial to all concerned. So I went from being a secretary getting coffee to doing what I'm doing now. I'm going to read that again. Another job will open up for you where a transfer will be effected in a way that is beneficial to all concerned. That's exactly what happened for me. What he's saying here is that when you have the consciousness of giving your best in your job, no matter what it is, you are going to attract into your life something that is worthy of that consciousness, like this job. I changed my attitude from what's in it for me to how can I serve? And my opportunity to work as a minister came along. My boss worked with me. Pat, this is your passion. We'll make it work. Incidentally, 3 months later, the center had grown to the point where I was only working for her 2 days a week, and I was doing ministry 5 days a week. Want to see that again? Your consciousness will bring about a change in the job, making it right for you and you for it. This is a true story, folks. You know that because I always tell this story around Labor Day. Ralph Waldo Emerson. No matter what your work, let it be your own. No matter what your occupation, let what you are doing be organic. Let it be in your bones. In this way, you will open the door by which the affluence of heaven and earth shall stream into you. Be a blessing in your work, and you will be blessed always. So I could talk about this for hours. Blessed always and blessed always. But I thought it would be nice to close this with kind of a guided meditation or visualization. So I'm going to ask Chance to come up, and Viv, because we've got a little surprise for you. I know. So I invite you to close your eyes. Just begin to feel yourself relaxing. Relax into your chair. Begin to put your focus on your breathing. And allow yourself right now to feel blessed. Not for any particular reason. Just feel blessed. And now think about the people you're close to, your family, your spouse, your children, parents, siblings. Feel blessed about them, regardless of your relationship with them. Allow the feeling of being blessed to surround you. And now think about your physical body. Don't judge it or wish it were different. Just feel blessed by this fabulous, intelligent machine that supports you so beautifully in life. And now think about how you are in service to the world through the work you do, whether you're paid for it or not. Again, don't judge it as good or bad. Just allow yourself to see the blessing it is and the blessing you are. And now just sit for a moment in the feeling of being blessed in all ways. Allow yourself to be surrounded by love, gratitude, joy, health, peace. And now say to yourself, either out loud or in your minds, I am blessed always. I am blessed in all ways. And now begin to bring yourself back to this room. Start to become aware again of the people around you. And when you're ready, open your eyes.